If you can scroll up just a hair, please. On that first page still. I'm sorry. It is. It just, we're at the CPS, concrete surface profile. We just need to go up. For one more. There we go. Coating over concrete. What is concrete? Water, cement, and fine aggregates. Also air. This is one thing that I have really learned not to let it get me down, but every concrete that we deal with, every concrete slab is a little different. So if anybody tells you that, shot blasting is always a requirement, that's not the truth in my mind. If we need to grind something, we can grind it. If we need a moisture remediation system, we can grind it. So it's all about the consistency to ensure that we don't have issues when we install our products over concrete. And the only two things that we do know about concrete is what? It's going to cure eventually, it's going to get hard, and it cracks. So anytime that somebody says, oh, well, we just poured this slab and it's perfect, it's brand new, it doesn't need any crack filler, it doesn't need any joint filler, invite Chris and I out on site. We love to check that out, because every concrete slab that I see, it's not perfect. And that's where we come in and we put a decorative system on top of it, and we can get pretty close to near perfect for people. And then coating over existing coatings. This is something that we get brought up almost on a weekly basis. Can I coat over the current coating? Well, we need to figure out what the current coating is. Nobody around knows what the current coating is. It's been installed, 10, 15 years ago at some of these big facilities, and people are just, oblivious or unknown to what is actually there. So let's take an educated guess, and we're gonna just call it epoxy as an existing coating. We can apply our epoxy over existing coatings with no issues, as long as it's prepped properly and cleaned properly. I also recommend that we do some type of test, and a simple, we have ASTM standards that we can look up, but an X-scribe test to an existing coating is going to be one of the best tests that we can do to ensure that it is bonded mechanically to our substrate, our concrete, and then when we put our sample on top of it, we can ensure that our sample is mechanically bonded to that current coating. So if somebody says, oh, we've tried it before, it hasn't worked, give us a shot. I'd love to get an opportunity to, instead of a full removal, go over an existing coating. Coating over wood, we get, yes. Very good question. So a pocket knife is great, but I usually like a razor knife, brand new razor knife, and I'll do an X-scribe test on the current substrate, the current coating, to ensure that it's bonded. So I try to cut through it the best way that I can, and I take the tip of that knife and I try and pry or scrape the coating. Most of the time, it's gonna scrape if it's bonded properly, and that's fine. That's not an issue. But if you can get your knife underneath that coating and pop up the existing coating, there's no point of putting a new coating on top of it, because we're only good as what our current coating is. Does that make sense? Okay. Another thing is, once we do our sample test and we apply our material on top of an existing coating, after you do the X-scribe, you can put a piece of duct tape on there and pull it. And as long as it bonds and adheres, we should be okay. Now, this is something that we need to get approval on from the end users and everybody that's going to be part of that application. Instead of full removal, most of the time we can go over existing coatings. Now, we are going to always recommend to clean it. We're going to recommend to abrade the surface, and then we're going to clean it again by vacuuming and solvent wiping before we put another coating on top of it. Coating over wood. I get asked this a lot as well. So when people want to add on storage in buildings, let's say they want to add a plywood decking second floor, we can coat over that. That's not an issue. The issues that I've had is coating over the joints. That's the weak spot in that application. So we would recommend tongue and groove plywood, screw everything together, no nails, and then we recommend the Epoxy 300 Flex material. So there's Epoxy 300 Flex paste for our joints, and then we also offer a flexible epoxy. So two different products, but at the end of the day, it's just flexible epoxy. That's what I would recommend over wood decking. For grow rooms, extra storage, airplane hangers, all sorts of different stuff where they want to gain extra space, or even freezers. I get some applications where people have, plywood freezers, and they need work done in that, and we can code over that as well. So any of those applications that come up, please bring it to us. We'd love to try and work with you on that one. One more time, Sam, I'm sorry. So if we can create a good profile by sanding, let's say 60, 80, 36 grit, something like that, nice and aggressive, and we apply our coating to it and it bonds, no problem. Sometimes like urethane cement, for example, like our Castercrete, it's going to require a grind before you can put a coating on top of it. So kind of a case by case, but most of the time if it's just standard epoxy, you could clean it, sand it, vacuum, solvent wipe it, and then you're good to go. That's a good question, Sam. Can you go down, James, please? Perfect. So why coatings fail? A lot of people, want to blame the manufacturer, the coating manufacturer, why there's an issue. And I will listen. I have no problem with that. Like I said, I've been in the industry for 9